Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Game 5 Round 11 podcast. I'm your host, Trep. That is your co host, Mr. Willis. Will, we are back to recap week 2 of Stage 4, DreamHack Major 4, and then, of course, preview the final qualifying week we have in week 3 before the major. An exciting major at that. We got a couple games there and going to be a pretty exciting tournament. But before we get into the recap, Will, we're going to talk about what obviously has been the biggest news in the CDL since the last podcast episode. OpTic Mercules. Merc gets picked up, joins OpTic. Obviously, me and you last week, we were high on it. We said we think this is a good change. We think, some positive could come from this happening. We're going to go ahead and just spoil the results for the OpTic matches right here as we talk about Merc. Both of us predicted that they were going to go 2-0. They actually go 1-1. They fall to Boston Breach 3-2 in their first series. But then they get a nice 3-0 over Carolina in their second series on Saturday. But in terms of Mercules, Will, I know both of us definitely watched these matches. We were anticipating, we wanted to see how Merc was going to play. I want you to give me your thoughts on what you saw. Obviously, for anybody who's watching this, you probably already watched the CDL, keep up with it. Kid drops a 1.3 and a 1.5 in his 2 series he plays. So obviously, we still see that slaying prowess that he had on Ultra at Major 3. And he can do it online. That was the biggest thing for me. It was like, can what he did with Ultra transition to online? I think it transitioned even better to online. But yeah, I want you to just give me your thoughts on what you saw from Merc, what you saw from what he brought to the OpTic roster, the different changes you saw with OpTic on how they were playing the game. They seemed, in my opinion, definitely more poised, more confident. And for me, they seemed like the pacing was much faster on what they were playing. So just give me your thoughts on what you saw from Mercules and how this OpTic team performed after the first 2 matches.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of already summed it up. I think the biggest issue there's been 2 glaring issues with OpTic so far this entire season. Their flex player has been rough, and they've been, honestly, for this game, too slow. And I know that's, like, shocking to, like, even fathom, considering majority of the season this year they've had Shotzi and Hook on the roster. But it was an overall team pacing issue. It wasn't an issue with Shotzi and Hook. The issues we were seeing was like Dashi is already one of the slower ARs. He's not like the slowest, but Dashi is also not unbelievably fast. And so you'd have your 2 SMGs just flying, 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 flying. And there was just a lot of gaps always being created because their flex was just in Kenny's situation, he was struggling. I don't necessarily think Kenny's pace was the issue. I just think he was struggling on the team, was not a good fit on this team this year in this game. And then when they picked up Skies, it was how slow he was. He was just way too slow. And so there was just always a gap. It felt like when you were watching OpTic, anytime a play was formulating on the OpTic side, someone was just never there to finish. You know what I'm saying? There was just always a gap. They'd get broken on a hill, a good flank would start to happen, and then the entry person on that flank would go, but then there'd be no one else there to kind of capitalize. It'd usually be shots. He'd come in, pop a surprise 2-piece like he can, but then no one else is near the hill. So he gets traded out by the third guy. Now they have time on the hill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I guess what I noticed with Mercules, they just play confident. You know what I'm saying? Like it just looks like they're playing confident because they know someone's there. And don't be wrong, there's some kinks that need to be worked out, especially uh in the Ravens series. No, yeah, Ravens series, right? Where did they play?
Play Boston
Breach
first.
in the
Yeah.
Breach series. They lost the S&Ds. That's what lost. They mounted a pretty close like reverse sweep almost. They kind of brought it back. They went down 0-2 and then worked their way back in the series. But they lost the S&Ds. That's really what lost it for them. And you can kind of sum that up to not a lot of playtime. S&D does take chemistry, especially at the highest level. Um, but to be honest, one thing I'll give them credit for, especially in that Breach series, I don't even know, like, If you have you watched any of that back yet? Just like kind of going.
Uh, a little bit. I know I've definitely watched the map 4 because that
Yeah,
was that was Mercules' takeover. But
if
uh,
you go back and watch
uh
that Breach series, you can see them fixing their mistakes in
yeah,
time, which is really impressive. You
and
understand?
I think another thing is they lost the 2 searches in the Breach series, and they went into the Carolina series saying we're going to play a map we haven't played, and we're going to see what happens. And they played Dealership. They win Dealership against Carolina, who I think had a positive record on that map in S&D until that moment. Um, but yeah, I mean, you saw it in the control. I think you saw kind of like a turnaround moment where it was like, okay, you know, we kind of know how we need to play this now. And then that rewind, I mean that was just I don't know if there was even I don't know if there was a way they could have played that map wrong with how Mercules was playing.
Yeah.
Um, which is really good to see because I mean, I feel like that's the presence you've been missing on OpTic this year was someone who could do that. And I think it just enables Hook and Shotzi a lot easier too. I think we saw, we didn't see insane numbers from either of those two in the series, but neither of them struggled at all. I guess the biggest thing about the Breach series, like you said, was with the S&Ds. I mean, if you go back and you look at the stat page for that, I mean, that series, OpTic outslayed the hell out of Breach and still lost the series. So, but I was, I went and I watched JP's VOD reviews of these matches, and, he said that, they lost the red card S&D. They lost, what was map 5 against Breach? Hasi? I think they lost Hasi and
Yeah.
red card, I think. They lost those 2 maps, and they said, you know what, we're going to play something different against Ravens, and they did. And I do think as we get closer to the major, OpTic's S&D is going to get a lot better because I think Mercules is a pretty sound S&D player. But I think it's just good to see. I think they have made like a massive jump in the respawn category. I think you can no longer look at this OpTic team and think, okay, they're going to struggle, even in their map 1 loss to Breach. I'm pretty sure it was a close map. And they blew them out on Rewind, which Ravens banned against them in their next series. So, I think for the first 2 series with this OpTic roster, I think you're not upset with 1-1. I think you're happy with 1-1, especially now with whether you're standing. You're 2-1 now. You have 2 matches this weekend, which one this weekend should be a guaranteed win unless you just absolutely troll.
They should make winners bracket.
This should be winners bracket. I'm really interested to see what happens on Sunday in that matchup. But of course we'll get to that. But I think if you're OpTic, and of course we're OpTic fans, I think you're happy with how this weekend went. You're not too shaken up by that Breach loss. Because I think that bounce back was huge. A 3-0 against Carolina. You were down 0-3 in the search. I'm pretty sure they won 5 straight before losing a round or something like that. And then they closed that search out. And the respawns. I mean, Mercules, I think he went 34-11 in that vault control for OpTic. And by the way, that was the first time OpTic have won vault control this year. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that was the first time they've won it.
I don't know off the top of my head if that's.
I think
they haven't won.
They haven't won it much.
Yeah.
If it wasn't their first time, it was within their first 3 for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think he's brought some new life. So, but we're gonna have to see, what happens with Mercules going forward. And like I said, this weekend, there should be, a big challenge on Sunday, which I want to see. How does this team look with another week of practice, and they'll have another series under their belt before their Sunday match. That's going to be the big one. But let's jump into these recaps, Will, and let's get into what happened over weekend 2. Of course, we just went over the OpTic matches, so we'll when we get to those, we'll just do we'll tell you guys the score, and if we have any notes on it, we can say it. But Will, why don't you kick us off into Friday and get us started with what these matches were?
Yeah, so the first match of Friday, we had Vegas taking on Miami. To be honest, Vegas kind of beat themselves in this series. I don't know if you watched this. There was multiple moments where Vegas easily could have won the maps that they lost, and just kind of self-sabotaged. Outside of that, I don't really have much to say. Miami continue to look. They're probably going to beat the lower pack teams, but it's also not unbelievably shocking if they lose to the lower pack teams. I don't know. Pretty standard Miami win here.
Yeah. I think we both chose Miami, obviously.
Yeah.
I think like you said, I think Miami struggled a little bit more than they probably should have in this series.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that might just be a little bit of a point going forward as you want to see. I think it was kind of just like a slow start for Miami. But ultimately they win the series, and I'm pretty sure they're the only undefeated team left in this qualifying stage.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I will say, the more I watch, Fred and Exted are actually a pretty solid sub duo. I wouldn't be shocked if they stick next season. I think you get them a better flex and a better main. I think they're a very solid SMG duo. I'm not gonna go as far to say like they're a top 4 sub duo, but I definitely think they could be way better if they had just a little bit more help.
I'm not against it. I mean, I don't think Pred stays. Truthfully, I think someone else offers him a spot on a better team that he goes to. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the sub duo of Pred and Exton is bad.
I'm gonna be real. If I'm Exnit and I get an offer from a good team next year,
I'm going. I'm going absolutely.
The money, I guarantee, the money's great. Playing for that team probably means so much to him as a Saudi himself. But like, I want to win.
Yeah,
you understand? Like,
you're in this to win, not just to collect a
and
contract.
he's good
check.
enough to win. I'm gonna be real. He is a diamond down there in the mud. Like, boy, he deserves to be on a better team. I'm fully convinced.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with roster mania when we get to the offseason.
Yeah. Second match on Friday, we had OpTic and Breach. We've already talked about this. Breach take it out 3-2. That leads us to the final match on Friday to round us out. We had FaZe taking on Cloud9. We both picked FaZe to win this one, and Cloud9 pull it out. I don't really know what to say. I think FaZe are beating themselves because we're about to talk about Cloud9 right after this match on the first match on Saturday, and it did not go anywhere near as well as this FaZe match went. So as it stands, I'm personally gonna say FaZe are probably beating themselves because this like weird turnaround that they've had in the last like split and a half now, I don't really know what's going on. They're losing respawns. They kind of look solid in S&D, but I mean the fact that FaZe is losing so many hard points is mind-boggling to me.
I think we just also didn't. I think we gotta give this Cloud9 roster some credit. Yes, their next match did not go their way, but their next match they played a Miami team that hasn't lost to anyone so far this stage. So I think Spart and Capsule have both played well enough, obviously, to beat FaZe. And simply, I think Spart was just simply the better AR in this series. It didn't really seem like it was a close one, but I mean it was what 3-1. I mean it was 3-1 Cloud9. I mean FaZe only won the Surge. They didn't win a single respawn in this series, so I think you got to keep an eye on Cloud9 going forward to see what is this team going to look like. I think they're what 1-2 right now. I think.
No. They're also undefeated.
No.
They're 2-1.
2-1. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this Cloud9 team moving on, because obviously only 8 of these teams can make winners brackets. So they have some important matches coming up too. But FaZe, like you said, they're kind of just going off the rails a little bit. It's weird to see, but we've always known FaZe to be that team that shows up when they need to. But it's dangerous for FaZe now. Because I think one more loss puts you in losers, pretty close to, which I'm not sure. Just looking at their remaining, they have one match this weekend, and it won't be a loss. I can guarantee you that. So, they should make winners bracket, but of course, we'll have to see.
If I'm FaZe, I'm less worried about starting in losers here, and more worried about not securing first seed overall for champs in the entirety of the CDL history. They're poised to not get first. LAT have it right now.
Whoever out. Well, it's not even whoever outplaces whoever. I think FaZe needs to win the event if they want
FaZe
first
has
seed.
to win the
Yeah,
yeah, they have
they
to
have
win
to win
this
the
to
event.
take it from LA.
So
They're, as it stands, if all things go as I most of us probably expect them to go, FaZe will not have first seed going into champ. They will not finish first overall in standings, regular season standings, since the league's inception. That is insane.
yeah,
We're in year 6. Is it 6, 7? What year? What year?
5
are we
or
on?
6, something like that.
5 or 6? Yeah, dude. Like, them FaZe boys are good.
That's what happens when you sign a BZ and Simp to that Supermax and sell
That's
now too.
yeah, and then you get draws. They
And
rounded
then
it
you
out.
get draws.
The perfect round out. That's insane. But yeah, so it moves us into Saturday. We kind of already teased it. Miami takes on Cloud9 to start us off. And Miami win it 3-1. Miami, as we've said multiple times now, still undefeated. Honestly, looking phenomenal right now. Have they played anyone like
They haven't played anyone like crazy
big
good.
yet? No, they haven't.
Let me see. They have a match this
Oh, they
weekend.
played Thieves. They beat Thieves 3-2.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did play Thieves.
yeah. They that was their first match, I believe. They game 5
Yeah.
them.
So
I mean,
Thieves
look,
also in a very interesting spot. Now that I'm looking at it, they're
it's getting
1-2.
spicy for them too.
Yeah, they were 1-2. They lost to FaZe and then they lost to Miami.
Yeah,
We'll talk about
and they
their
got 2
other match
matches
here
this
in just a
weekend.
second.
So,
yeah, so very interesting for our top teams right now. It's a little bit of a shakeup. Second match on Saturday, we had Rocker taking on LAG. I bet you guys can all guess how that went. Rocker won, but it actually went game 5. A little bit of a shakeup. This
I predicted
LAG,
game 5. Let's go.
and you always give me shit for giving LAG maps.
But this was battle of the shitters, dude.
Rocker finally win their game 5. That's big for Rocker. Maybe knock some of the the bad mojo off of you a little bit, but I don't know. Interesting tidbit about LAG. Since we've already talked about the OpTic match, we might as well say this too. With OpTic beating Ravens, that made it impossible for LAG to qualify for champs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So now Vegas and LAG are both guaranteed can't make champs.
We are we're down to 10 teams.
Mm-hmm.
10 teams fighting for it.
Yep.
And they're all in contention too. Like, it's not like 10 and 9.
It was closer before this weekend.
Yeah.
And I think it's you still have some implications this weekend, obviously. I think it's Minnesota, OpTic, Cloud9. Those are the main ones fighting for 8 right now.
Yeah.
I think
OpTic has it.
Yeah, OpTic has it. Minnesota's below OpTic by a little bit, I think, right?
No, Cloud9 took it over.
Okay, so Cloud9's below OpTic, and then Minnesota's below Cloud9. Yeah. And then who's above OpTic? Miami? No.
Ravens. Right?
Surge?
No, not Surge. I think it's Boston. I knew it was Boston or Raven. I was trying to get out Boston. I said Surge.
Yeah, so I mean you got a tiny bit of separation there with the Boston win over OpTic. OpTic kind of gets a little bit of points back after beating Ravens. That pushes Ravens down even further. So it's really, I feel like really right now it's a battle between OpTic, Ravens, and Cloud9 to see who gets that 8 spot.
Realistically speaking, it's really going to come down to the major. I'm looking at the actual point separation now. OpTic each win is 10 CDL points here in these qualifiers. As it stands, OpTic is 4 wins up on Cloud9 and Rocker. Cloud9 and Rocker are tied at 125, but Cloud9 has the better overall win percentage, so they win the tiebreaker as it stands.
But that's if they even pass OpTic for top 8. So
exactly. So really what that means when you actually look at how many matches all 3 of those teams have left for this, I think they all only play once this last.
OpTic played twice.
Weekend of qualifier? Does OpTic play twice?
Yep. OpTic plays twice, Minnesota plays twice, and Cloud9 play once.
Okay, so realistically speaking, Cloud9 doesn't have an opportunity to catch. None of them have an opportunity to catch OpTic here. It's really going to come down to how things go at DreamHack, which is why securing winner's bracket is really important for these teams right now.
And I think if you see another 1-1 weekend, even a 1-1 weekend from OpTic, I think will almost solidify. And barring just an absolute shit show at Major 4.
Yeah.
Because if if OpTic, I mean, especially if they go 2-0, because I don't know about you, I'm looking at this for Rocker. This is not a favorable weekend for them, and it's not for Cloud9 either. So
I am looking. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure OpTic are guaranteed winners with 2 wins.
yeah, I
Like
think
OpTic and Cloud9 are
if
both
OpTic go
guaranteed.
2-0 this weekend, I think it is a guarantee. But
No. I think they're guaranteed already with 2 wins.
oh, you mean winners bracket for Major Four?
Yeah,
I
they're
thought you meant
guaranteed.
for
Yeah.
champs.
No. OpTic.
I think if they go 2-0 this weekend, they solidify top 8 for champs.
No, because like if Cloud9 or Minnesota have like a crazy top 4,
That
or even win the event, like it could
that's
change it. So like,
let's be
well,
real.
you gotta always include the technicalities, right?
Yeah.
So there's a chance, but
Even
really,
if it's a small one.
yeah, it's gonna come down to the major. It's obviously it always does for those like
I will
bottom 3
say,
or 4 teams.
in my mind, I think it's only OpTic Cloud9 right now. I think that those are the two. I think because we'll talk about who Minnesota plays this weekend. I think it's going to be an ugly weekend for them. And I think that's going to push them out of the race. And it's really going to come down to how do OpTic perform this weekend, and how does Cloud9 perform in their one match, and then of course DreamHack. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but that's what makes the champs race so fun.
Oh yeah. Third match on Saturday, we had Thieves taking on Vegas. This one actually did go the exact way that everyone thought it would. Thieves win 3-0. I don't really have many,
No,
if any,
I mean,
notes on this at all. Vegas.
this is a Vegas team that isn't going to champs. You're playing the team that just won a tournament. We all expected this. We all knew this was going to happen. The fact that they put this as a double points on pick'ems for the CDO website's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean this went the way we expected it to.
Yep. And then last match on Saturday was Ravens and OpTic. We've already discussed it. OpTic end up winning 3-0. This Ravens roster, man, I don't know. I think on an individual performance, I would take Rex over Vivid, but for whatever reason it may be, I think Vivid actually fit the roster better. Now that we're kind of like, we've got a pretty decent size pool of matches to like sample and look at. Yeah, Rex might be the better player, like statistically speaking, but I think Vivid fit better. I think Vivid just played a little bit more fundamental probably, and just really helped keep things in line. But
And this was kind of
this
slammage
Ravens-
from OpTic too. I mean this
this Ravens team
outside
went
of
from-
the first 3 rounds that Carolina won in the S&D, it didn't really seem like they had much of a chance.
Yeah, no. This Carolina team went from looking at top 4 for like the first half of the year to now like they might start in losers at champs. You know what I'm saying? Like I doubt it. You can't start in losers at champs, but is champs is one and done this year again, right? Or is there a
I don't
losers
know.
bracket?
I think it's double a limb, but I'm not 100%
I hope
sure.
so. But yeah, Ravens go from looking like a top 4 team to now like
No, it's definitely double a limb.
is it?
Yeah. New York came from losers last year.
I think I'm thinking of the minors.
Yeah, or ESWC, because ESWC was single limb.
Yeah, probably ESWC. Yeah, that rounds us out on Saturday. Sunday, we had Surge taking on the Boston Breach. This went about the way I think everyone expected. Surge with a nice little 3-0. Surge continued to look great. I mean, I don't know what's up with these guys in grand finals. I wish they could make it a little bit more competitive. But outside of that, man, they continue to look great. I don't really have many notes on this series. They did what I expected them to.
Yeah. Again, just Boston flip-floppy, man. They've been flip-floppy all year. It'd be interesting to see how they close this year. But
I think with Boston, at this point, they kind of, if they're going to win a series, it's because Snoopy has like a takeover moment and just like absolutely shuts everyone out.
Yeah.
Outside of that happening, they're not really winning much. So, second match on Sunday, FaZe took on LAG. I mean, it's like it's kind of like bullying at this point, man. FaZe win 3-0. I don't really have, you find out the day before you're no longer
Yeah,
capable of
you can't
qualifying
make
for champs, and
champs.
then you got to go play
Fucking
FaZe.
FaZe.
Yeah, at least FaZe are still beating the people that like the guaranteed wins. They're still getting those,
Yeah.
so it's not completely doom and gloom over there in the FaZe camp. But I'm not looking at this 3-0 thinking, all right, yeah, we won we won the respawns, we're good. No, you still got to figure out what the hell's going on there. But yeah, man, I just feel bad for LAG. Granted, they kind of did it to themselves. They should have made team changes way earlier in the year, but what you gonna do? Last match on Sunday we had Ultra taking on Rocker. This one also went exactly how I thought it was going to. It was a very
This
quick
was a
Ultra
9-0
3-0.
map count day.
Yeah,
And none of the series were close.
It was a very fast day. All door dashes.
All door dashes.
Yep.
And like you said, I don't think any of us are shocked by that. I think it's pretty easy to tell that was gonna happen.
Oh yeah. The only thing I will say, I'll give them credit. Ultra, they still look phenomenal with Beans on the roster. I think maybe a little bit of a faded take. I think if Beans didn't have visa issues and he was able to play, I think they probably would have ended up in the grand final over Surge. I think they look good. That 4-man roster looks good. And to be honest, I'm here for it. They were kind of like, I think you and I both kind of read them off at the beginning of the year, kind of like, you know what I'm saying? But hell, they're doing their thing, man. Beans and Joe Deceives, who would have fucking thought?
Dude, us at the beginning of the year wouldn't have fucking thought it.
No, I mean maybe a little bit with Joe Deceives because like he
was turning up at the end of W3. But he's been such like an up and down player, like year in year out. I just expected him to have a bad year, but no, he's fucking shitting.
Nah, he
so.
is up.
Yeah, he's shitting.
He's like, I don't necessarily think he's MVP talks, but he's looking great.
I haven't even thought about like MVP. I think the Rookie of the Year conversation just got more interesting.
Oh yeah, it depends on how things go with OpTic.
Yeah, it depends on how the rest of OpTic plays, but
stormed into there and
fucking. I mean,
the absolute Johnson.
That's what I'm saying. He laid cock. I mean, he hasn't dropped below a 1.3 in a series yet. Now, of course, he's only played 2, but
that clip I sent you of the listening.
Yeah,
it was on Rewind, and Hook was like, he's there. He's like, you want to see something?
Yeah, you want to see something, and then he just absolutely
takes the most faded chow
and wins it.
Shits on the guy.
Yeah, and wins it. I mean, the kid's disgusting, and he plays default with no paddles.
Yeah,
by the way,
he's motherfucker's taking his finger off his trigger to hit his shit. No claw.
Guy's nuts. Well, let's get into our Week 3 predictions. The final week of qualifiers before we get to Major 4. The end of the year has come quickly as we head into our last weekend of matches before the tournament. And then, of course, from Major 4, we will head into Champs.
So, real quick, does that mean we've got a fucking month-long postseason? When the fuck is Champs?
Champs is June. Like, practically a month after of this tournament.
Yeah, so it's like a month off before the postseason starts almost, right?
And then after that will be about a month until ESWC.
Holy shit, bro! I hope Kason does something because the fuck are we?
There might be something in between, but who knows?
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
Playing the hell out of Warzone, I guess. I don't.
Getting
the streams on.
Getting ready for Champs, man. Well, let's get into these predictions. Well, first match today, Friday, May 16th, OpTic Texas taking on LAG. I think me and you both know how we're going to pick this.
LAG 3-1.
Yeah. That'd be an OpTic thing to do, huh? I've got OpTic 3-0.
I've also got OpTic 3-0.
I think Merc's going to have a fucking field day against these guys. I hope we get to see some more cohesion in the respawns, and I hope we see a little bit more, sound S&D play. I think what you saw against Ravens in S&D was a lot of, okay, we need to get playing as a team when we decide to do shit. And I think you saw a lot of that, and it really helped them on that dealership. I want to see them expand the map pool still, try out other maps for other game modes, and just try to get themselves as ready as possible for the tournament. But yeah, OpTic 3-0. Match number 2, Minnesota taking on Carolina Royal Ravens. An interesting matchup here. Two teams that are struggling. It's just which one struggles less in this series. For me personally, I have Carolina 3-2. I think it goes 5. Minnesota has notoriously struggled in winning game 5s. I don't even think it might not even take 5 for Carolina, honestly. It really just depends on what Carolina shows up. But yeah, I have the Ravens.
I also have Ravens 3-2. I just don't think either of these teams look good right now, and I think that says enough. I think it's going to be a battle of the sandbox, as I historically like to put it. Just two toddlers,
Yeah,
you understand?
just throwing sand at each other.
We'll see.
And then final match today, Thieves taking on Boston. Again, a flip-floppy Boston versus a Thieves team that has kind of struggled a little bit this split. I don't think they struggle here. I think they 3-0 Boston. I just think that the power of this Thieves team is just going to be too much. But you never know. It just depends on what Snoopy you get. If you get a good Snoopy and you get a solid Cammy, you just never know with this Boston team. But I do have Thieves 3-0.
I also have Thieves 3-0, but I also agree with you. If Snoopy's shooting back, this could go game 5.
We move into Saturday, May 17th, the day with 4 games. FaZe taking on Vegas to start things off. I've got FaZe 3-1 over Vegas. I think Vegas they just steal a map from FaZe just because FaZe has not looked like FaZe recently. Again, I just don't see a way that Vegas win this series. I think you get a nice bounce back from FaZe here, and you get a much-needed win heading into the major.
Yeah, I've got FaZe 3-0. I kind of agree with what you said. It's not like I think it's impossible for FaZe to lose a match to Vegas. I just don't ever expect Vegas to win a map. So, FaZe 3-0.
Second match of the day, Thieves taking on Cloud9. This could turn out to be an interesting one. Again, we saw Cloud9 lose to Miami. Miami's 4-0. I'm interested to see how Cloud9 look against Thieves. But at the end of the day, it's hard to go against Thieves. I have Thieves 3-1 in this series. They're the reigning champs of the major. I see them having a 2-0 weekend. But if they're not careful, they could lose one of these series and put themselves in a really rough spot for a major 3. But I do have them going 2-0. I have them beating Cloud9.
I've also got Thieves 3-1. I'm just not sold on Cloud9 yet. If they can continue to beat these top teams, sure. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I think it's a little, too little too late. I think you're going up against a proven Thieves roster. I don't really expect to see much success, especially after Thieves have already lost a couple times. They're not, I think they're going to really rein it in here and focus hard.
We move into the third match of the day. Carolina Royal Ravens taking on the Miami Heretics. Another match that could be interesting, Will.
I don't think so.
I mean, for me, it's just what Ravens do we get? I mean, do we get a competent Ravens? And Miami, the series have been a little closer than I feel like they probably want them to be with some of these teams. I actually have Miami winning this in 3-2 over Ravens. I just feel like Miami find a way to make it stressful on themselves in some of these series. I think Miami's comfortable in the S&Ds. I think Super's been out of his mind in S&D this year ever since joining the team. I have faith that Carolina can kind of push it. But it's more of Miami's been kind of making the maps a little bit more stressful than they should. But in the end, I do have Miami winning.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to be very interesting at all. You want my honest opinion? It kind of looks like Ravens have been showing up fighting with broomsticks against some of the better teams. So I got Miami 3-1.
And then we move into our final match of the day, and I like this final match, Will. I think this is a good matchup here. Vancouver Surge taking on Toronto Ultra. We might differ here, by the way. An interesting matchup. Both teams that are kind of on a high. Vancouver's been playing really well. Toronto, since Beans has come back, they've been playing really well. I think Toronto might still be undefeated, right? Or have they lost? I think it might be Miami-Toronto that's undefeated.
They are both undefeated.
Yeah, Miami-Toronto undefeated. So the Toronto undefeated record on the line here against Vancouver. I have Ultra winning 3-2 over Vancouver. There's just something about this Ultra team. They have that grit about them. They have that fight about them. Vancouver's looked a little shaky this split. I think Toronto have looked just as good as they've needed to look with Beans back on the lineup, and I think Toronto find a way to win this series 3-2.
I'm actually shocked that you think we differ, considering I just said I think if Beans was on the roster, they would have been in the grand finals. But I also have Ultra 3-2. I think it's still a battle of like absolute just units of a team.
Yeah.
So I think it'll go the distance. But I genuinely like the way Ultra look right now. I mean, I'm looking at the standings and everything like that. Ultra's only dropped 2 maps this split. Miami's dropped 6. Miami, what am I saying? Fucking
Vancouver.
Surge have only dropped 6. I don't know why I keep making. That's the second time I've messed up their names. Surge has dropped 6. So I don't know, man. I think this Ultra team just looks a little bit more polished right now.
I'm with it. And we move into Sunday. The final 3 matches of the qualifiers for Major 4. The first one, Boston Breach taking on LAG. I'm sorry,
Boston
LAG.
3-1.
I'm sorry, LAG. I just can't do it. I can't. You look like the shit I stepped in outside. I mean,
They've
Boston
won 4 matches this entire year.
Yeah, but Boston 3-1. I agree with that. I think Snoopy has a fucking field day in this series. I think we see Tyler Fellow Johnson lose this series and retire. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be much of a series, but
If
give
I'm
it.
Kismet, I'm already on the fucking phone.
Get me out of here.
What y'all doing for EWC?
Next matchup. OpTic Texas taking on Toronto Ultra. Mercury is going against the team he played for and subbed in for at Major 3. This is an interesting one. This is going to be a very telling series, I think, for this OpTic team and for this Toronto team. But I love Mercules. I love the vibe he brings to the team. I love the way this OpTic team's been playing recently. And with that being said, I have Ultra winning the series 3-2 over OpTic. I think they need more time, and I think this is coming on them a little quick. You never know what could happen. I do think OpTic will fight closer than most people might think. Toronto are just hot right now, man. They've been playing really good COD. This is still a pretty fresh OpTic team. I think Toronto has it.
So we differ. I'm willing it into existence. No, in reality, on the official record, I do have OpTic 3-2. However, I also have written next to it Ultra 3-1 because it's how I think it's actually going to go. But I'm willing to take the map loss. I think it's locked in. I don't think you're catching me. I think it's impossible because how much we agree right here. This is the last weekend of qualifiers, folks. This is it.
Yep.
We're done. We're going to the major after this.
Dude, I'd have to pick fucking LAG to beat Boston, fucking Vegas to beat FaZe. Like, that shit's not happening, brother. All right, that shit's not happening.
I've weighed it. I've weighed the consequences. I can afford one little,
little blip.
Yeah. So, OpTic 3-2.
Listen, I'm okay with accepting the loss if OpTic win this series.
100%. You got to accept it no matter what.
Well, that's true. but an OpTic
like
an OpTic win over Toronto would be great. It's going to be a good series, I think. I just don't see a way OpTic win it. I think they just need more time. But our final qualifying match of the year, final one will be Vancouver taking on Minnesota, and in my opinion, it's not going to be a close one. They should have flipped the OpTic Toronto and Vancouver Rocker match. Like, we're closing out with Surge Rocker.
Yeah. What did we start the last set of qualifiers with? We started this qualifying stage with Surge and FaZe. It's such a banger.
Yeah, and we're ending with Surge Rocker.
Ending with fucking Surge. They can't. I think they're running out of money, bro. They can't afford the on-air talent. You know what I'm saying? They're just trying to get these 3-0s scheduled for the last day. Just get the shit over with.
But that is the end of the qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a fun year yet again, Will. And we're not done yet, of course. We still have champs to talk about. True. We still have DreamHack next week. We got DreamHack next week, and then we got champs, and then we got EWC to talk about.
Sure.
So it's going to be a fun close to the year. Of course, like we said, next week we will have our Major 4 DreamHack predictions on who wins the tournament. I'm really curious to see how some of these matches play out this weekend. I think you got some big implication matches for some of these teams, but it's going to be a fun weekend. Do I have an ending question for Will this time around? I didn't really think about it this time because I was just so enamored by, talking about OpTic Mercules and how he's kind of rejuvenated that team.
Yeah, true. You should have saved that for the end. Just like, Will,
true,
give me
but
your
but like
actual
we
points on
were gonna
Mercules.
have to talk about it when the matches came up because like you can't not. Like the kid dropped a 1.3 and a 1.5. Like you have to talk about it. And I just wanted to get out of the way so we didn't spend too much time talking about it while going over all the matches. I'll have one queued up next week though. I'll have a good one queued up. Something related to the major, based off of how this weekend goes. Any closing thoughts, Will? As we end our qualifying run ends here. You're the champion of the records yet again, 2 years in a row.
We haven't done the math yet. Let's not.
Well, we both had a shit weekend that weekend. I'm pretty sure we were the exact same record. I don't think you were up by like 6 or 7 at one point.
Did you go last weekend? Did you go 8-2 or?
Let me pull it up a second because I closed it. Last weekend I went 7-3.
Okay, so what do we differ on?
What'd you go? 8-2?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck me sideways.
I'll run the gauntlet real quick. You tell me what we differed on.
Okay.
Miami OpTic Face. Miami Rocker Thieves OpTic. Surge Phase Ultra. Those are my picks.
Oh, what did we differ on? We both picked OpTic. We both picked Phase. You picked Miami over Cloud9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I picked Cloud9 over Miami.
Okay. Well,
so.
I knew it was going to happen, bro. Spark shaved his mustache.
Motherfucker. Shave his goddamn mustache. Anyway, guys, we appreciate y'all for watching as always as we get ready to close out yet another year of the Game 5 Round 11 podcast. We're not there yet. Got a little bit longer to go, but the end of the qualifying run. Again, Will is your back-to-back champion in predicting correctly. I got to stop with these faded takes, man. I just got so many faded takes.
Yeah, we'll have official map counts and stuff for you in next week's episode.
Either next week or
for the major,
or after Major 4 when we recap and then get ready to go over champs and all that kind of stuff. Because I think by then we'll have the champs bracket at the end of Major 4. I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, we'll have it as Major 4s
concluding.
Like
yeah,
throughout the weekend. Yeah. We'll get bits and pieces.
But yeah, we appreciate y'all. If you guys enjoyed it, that like button, subscribe if you're new and you want to see more of the podcast. Of course, we're going to be back for the tournament next week, and then obviously champs, EWC, and then of course the next Call of Duty that comes out. We will be covering all things CDL. As always, we appreciate you all. Will, send us out of here.
Goodbye.